they get winded showing you their canned foods. It's like, here's my canned foods. Hey everybody, and welcome to Shooting the with Yankee. As always, I'm Yankee, so let's start shooting. Today's topic is, what's the biggest mistake you see made by preppers? And I say that in parentheses because not everybody who preps wants to be called a prepper, but people who do, people that think end times are coming or economic collapse is coming. You're going to have to survive on your own. And they're preparing for that. What do you think is the biggest mistake that a lot of them make while doing that? Maybe the biggest mistake you see, or maybe the most common mistake you see. I will start us off, as always, that I have said, I've done multiple videos on this, and I think the biggest mistake preppers make is they prep too much on how they're going to make a run for it. You know, go bags, and I'm going to be traveling on the road with this, and, you know, be a one-man army, you know, and that's just not realistic when you should be planning more on how you're going to stay home, how you're going to make allies. So I think that's the biggest mistake. The other mistake is their health. I mean, you see people, I mean, I ain't in great health, but I can walk 10 miles. I can run 2 or 3, even though I'm old. But you see a lot of people are like, I'm a prepper, especially on that prepper show where it's like they get winded showing you their canned foods. It's like, here's my canned foods. I think that's a huge mistake. If you can't survive a day without your insulin, well, then you're probably not going to make it through the apocalypse. But like I said, other than that, other than physical health, I think the biggest mistake is people plan too much on how they're going to live on the run, being a, you know, one-man army instead of how they're going to stay at home and get some allies. So that's my answer. Let's go see what other people have to say. Johnny Mandrick chimed in and says, thinking you're going to hunt for food, especially when you don't know how to field dress anything. Well, that's true. You do know how to field dress. Have to know how to field dress things, or at least you have to know someone who does. Maybe you're the guy with the rifle that knows how to shoot, and you go out and kill it, and maybe your neighbor is the guy who'll dress it. So you either got to have somebody that does, and they can teach you. You definitely want to learn it. You don't want to leave it to them. You know, you don't know how to do it when bad times go bad. You still should know how to do it by the time, you know, you've formed a little community and stuff. So, yeah, people don't pay enough attention to know how to field dress. I mean, having grown up deer hunting, coon hunting, all that stuff, raccoon, which I look back on and I'm like, we were fucking monsters. But I can field dress something if I got it. I don't even like dressing a fish, but I never liked it, but I can do it. Gummy Wuzzle said, ignoring physical fitness. Somebody should tell them they don't look like they stand up much. Fuck body dysmorphia. Yeah, we called you fat. Just kidding. Yes, that's one of the things I said. Physical fitness. You should at least be able to walk. If you can't go out and walk, let's say for an hour, I mean, just walk for an hour. That would be so much better than what most people that seem to be preppers can do. Just walk for an hour, get on the treadmill for an hour a day, or just go outside and walk for an hour a day. Just move for an hour. It would make a big difference in your chance of survival. I mean, it's not like you can't be like, all right, we're going to survive. We're all going to get out of here. Oh, no, there's stairs. That's it for me. And you just have to lay down and let the zombies eat you because you ain't running up no stairs. Micah D says, telling people what and where you got it. Well, you mean like showing them where your stuff is and everything? I mean, as long as you're well defended and, you know, people, you know, I could see there's, you know, not a really bad, but you don't want to like advertise to everybody nearby on the internet. You know, like if things go bad tomorrow, the economy collapses, like people are going to be like, I'm getting on a bus and going to Oregon because I saw some guy up there's got stuff. That's not happening. People worry about shit like that, but that ain't happening. But yeah, you do want to be a little discreet on what you got. You don't want to have everybody know everything you have. Johnny Mandrick said, emus won, Australia 0. Yes, Australia did famously lose a war to emus, and the emus, I don't think even knew there was a war but they still won. So that should tell you something. Don't fuck with emus. People think, oh, he's got an ostrich shirt. No, these are emus. Big difference. Emus are crazy. Ostriches are mean. Emus are crazy. Edgar Cortez says, I'm not sure what you're asking for, but leaving home and forgetting your gun is a major screw up, and it does happen. Well, that's not exactly what we're asking for. We're asking about, like, what mistakes do people make when prepping, like being prepared for bad times. But I guess that could apply. I mean, if something bad happens, like if you're out and about and suddenly war starts or there's natural disaster, there's a major earthquake, and you're not armed because you didn't take your gun, well, then you weren't very prepared, were you? Weren't very prepared. Gummy Wuzzle said, not stocking spices, condoms, or fun activities. Well, I don't think condoms are going to be a big problem. Everybody going to stink. Nobody want to mess around. And I don't need them. I ain't getting nobody pregnant. So I don't need any condoms, but some people might. But spices, yes, that's a big thing. Fun activities, I mean, you can make your own fun activities, I guess. But board games, stuff like that, yeah, people might like that. Having books to read, stuff like that. Pet hospital. All are thanking us for a donation. One of the local funds for people who can't afford to get medical care for their pets. We made a $200 donation this week, and they were just sending us an email saying thank you. It was addressed to the Yankee Marshall Posse. I think that's what, because it says T period Posse. I think they think that's our name. They think my name is Yankee Marshall Posse. Or the Yankee Marshall Posse, they think is my name. Heavy J, buying cans of food, not knowing how to cook. Knowing how to cook would help, but I mean, it's not necessarily, you don't have to necessarily cook everything you eat. A lot of things don't need to be cooked. Fruits, vegetables, a lot of canned foods already pre-cooked. You just got to heat it up, but you don't have to. You can eat it cold. If you get hungry enough, I guarantee you'll eat it cold. I've eaten many a little bag of cold hamburger macaroni, in the MREs, that whatever it's called. I've eaten that cold many times. Eaten cold tuna fish with a fork many times. But yeah, you should know how to cook a little bit. At least know how to prepare some food. At least know how to sanitize food. Cook it to where it's not going to kill you. That would be a good thing too. That was Heavy J, by the way. You think he would be worried about cooking. Sean Bain, forgetting where they are going to get water or water shortage, or not forgetting, just not planning. A lot of people do not plan for water. They think that the water's going to keep running, or if it doesn't, I'll go get some. Well, that might not be a possibility if bad times come. Water might stop flowing. Might be none on the shelves. You might have to resort to going to rivers, and then you got to know how to prep the water. I luckily have a well on site that does have a manual pump attachment I can stick on it. All I got to do is go out there, disconnect my drop line and connect it onto the manual pump and pump. And plus we got a river that flows right through our area here, right at the bottom of our hill, an all year long runoff, melt off river. So we got water source there as well. Mr. Fairley said, focusing on one aspect and neglecting many others. Yeah, people do tend to do that. They do seem to think, I got a lot of food, so I'm prepared, or I got a lot of ammo, so I'm prepared. You really, really should be well-rounded, because if the less well-rounded you are, the more things you're going to miss if things go bad. Mr. Furley Go Shadow said, stocking dehydrated food with no water supply, or the freeze-dried and the dehydrated. Yeah, it's not a good idea if you don't got anything to. I mean, you could still eat them. You can still eat freeze-dried food without rehydrating it. You wouldn't starve to death, but you might not enjoy it. Although some of it's not bad, like the freeze-dried strawberries and stuff. You can eat those pretty good without water, but it's better if you put water on, because then you can put them on stuff. Like if you make if you bake a cake, like if you have standard baking stuff, like if you think I want to have flour and salt and, you know, all this baking powder. And also I want to have a grinder so that I can make flour and stuff like that. Then you might occasionally be able to put together a nice little cake, and you might want to rehydrate some of them strawberries to put on it or something. You just make life a little better whenever you can. Even I could probably eat it if the end times were here, because I would be out and be more active and I'd be burning more calories. I wouldn't have to worry about getting fat. That was Go Shadow that said about the water for the dehydrated foods. And then Heavy J said, not learning how not to die from the environments. Well, yeah, a lot of people don't know much about that because they've never been subjected to it. You know, there's a lot of people who think, you know, I can just go out and be in the sun all day and it ain't gonna hurt me, because they've never really done it. David A says, over prepping. That was my brother's name, David A. Over prepping, plan for what could happen. I don't know. I don't know if you could be over prepared, but I guess if you're trying to consider so many circumstances where you're only partially prepared for all of them instead of being fully prepared for any of them, well, then I guess, yeah, that could be a problem. But I don't think you can ever be over prepared. Like if you're fully covered in this one scenario, well, then move on to another. But don't like, well, there's 10 scenarios I can foresee, so I'm going to be 10% prepared for each of them. No, be fully prepared for one and then fully prepared for another. Heavy J said, not learning how to grow your own food. Yeah, that's my least favorite. Heavy J is all food oriented. You notice that? I can grow some food. I don't keep up on it. I don't do it now, but yeah, it is nice to know what you can plant, when you can plant it. You'd be surprised how many people have no clue when you got to plant something, if you're going to want to harvest it and not have it just die in the fields because you planted it too late, or have it rot because you planted it too soon. You know, you got to know those things. It's good to keep a planter's almanac around just for reference. That's one of the things I tell people should be in your survival gear, is a planter's almanac, farmer's almanac, so you know when to plant, and take into account your own elevation and your own climate too. Ghost Shadow says, not stocking parts to fix things, motor oil for generators, tractors, etc. True, you should have some stuff around to fix stuff, especially tools. You don't want to get in a situation where you can't fix something because you just don't even have the tools. That'd be a lot of people just don't have the tools. Heavy J, biggest mistake is not paying your tithe to Phil. Yes, I think he means tithe, but yes, that is the biggest mistake. There's no way Phil's letting you live through the apocalypse if you ain't paid your tithe. You're going to be one of the first people he smushes. Or maybe just smush all your stuff and your family and leave you there to deal with it. Squirrel and Wesson, not knowing how to grow and preserve their own food. That's like, yeah, that is. And knowing how to can. That's a big thing. We don't have a big garden. We've got, they're like 6x10 raised beds. And I think we have 5 of them and a greenhouse. 5 6x10 raised beds and a greenhouse. And we raise way more food than we can actually eat. More tomatoes than we can eat, more peppers than we can eat, more cucumbers than we can eat. If we were trying to be for survivalists, we'd definitely be canning all that stuff instead of giving it away. Got to be able to replenish things eventually. Hoard mason jars, lids, salt, and vinegar. Yes. We have actually jugs of vinegar out there just in case of such a thing. Sparks68 says, just being a prepper. They're delusional. Not really. You'd be surprised how many people will make it through a bad time, especially a short-term bad time, simply because they are prepared. You'd be surprised how many people will actually survive even in a long-term bad situation because they know how to band together as a unit. They know how to play to their strengths. They know how to provide food for the table and shelter and all these other things. And they bring together a small group of people that all bring different, aspects to the table. You'd be surprised how many people will survive because of that. Whereas a lot of people will just be dead in the first couple of months because they weren't prepared at all. So I can't agree with that one. John Mandrick, not knowing how to make or repair essential items. Yes. Be at least a little mechanical. Be able to build stuff with your hands, just like buildings, shelters, things like that. Know how to hammer a nail. Know how to put wood together in a formation that'll actually stay together. Know how to make things watertight. Know how to fix an engine. That's one of the things I try to teach my kids. One of my sons is doing pretty well on learning how to fix an engine, and he wants to be a mechanic. The other one, he knows you push the gas pedal, it goes, and that's it. That's all he cares to know. So he better bring something else to the table. He's big and he's strong. He could pull a plow. He'd bring that to the table if we ever were in a prepper situation. That'd be his biggest strength, that he can pull a plow. We got one more person weighing in here. That was Johnny Mandrick that just chimed in there. Said knowing how to repair essential items. Our last person today is JJ, and they said the biggest is not being physically in shape. What's that symbol before I don't know what that symbol is, but yeah, that's right. Being in shape. We've mentioned that once or twice already. People who can't get out of their chair without, having to take a nap afterwards, or, have to eat half a pizza to recover, probably not going to live long in the apocalypse. If you've got to have insulin every day, probably not going to live long in hard times. So if you got to be on blood pressure medicine, everything else, probably not going to survive long. We did get one more person weighing in here at the last minute. Listening to Patriot Nurse, she cray. I don't know what she says. I know I've heard that name, but I don't think I've ever seen a single video from them. I usually feel we're pretty covered here on medical care. I used to be an EMT and married to a nurse, so we're okay on knowing how to deal with minor medical things. Of course, it's been a long time since I've been an EMT. They've changed CPR probably 8 times since I was an EMT, and I've had to learn all of them because our insurance for our bar required that the owners and the patrons know how to do a CPR for some reason. I don't know why, but they gave you a break for that, a discount. Now, I wanted every discount I could get. So I kept it up. And my kids both have first aiders license. I told them to get that. It's available through their schools when they were in high school. So I said, yes, take that class. I think they charged you like $50 to take it, but I was like, yes, take that class. But that's it for us today. I want to thank everybody for weighing in with what they think are the biggest mistakes preppers often make. How about you out there in YouTube land? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you want to weigh in on one of these topics in person, come to our live chat, especially if you disagree with something I've said in one of my videos. Come to our live chat. Let me know. Weigh in person like a man, or if you're a woman, like a manly woman. Come on in. Tell me you disagree. We'll chat about it. But otherwise, just weigh in on the topic of the day or stick around for the open chat to discuss whatever you want to discuss. I hope to see you at a live chat soon. Thanks again to everybody who weighed in. I'll see y'all again tomorrow. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe until I see you again.